It's me, it's Gary, back. I'm sitting outside the Safe Credit Union Convention Center in Sacramento, California. You can see it over a bit over my shoulder. And I'm here for the Ignition Community Conference 2025 by Inductive Automation. And I have often said, let me start it like this. I've often said that the way that the Ignition platform has developed, which started out as HMI SCADA and has expanded much beyond that, and it really needs another term for this market area that they serve. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those analysts that gets paid $50,000 to $100,000 to develop new names, so it won't come from me. But it is like a whole new paradigm, and a lot of exciting things this year at ICC. And yes, for those of you who are watching on YouTube rather than listening to the podcast, I'm wearing the conference shirt. I come home both on these kind of business trips and from my soccer experiences with so many free shirts that my wife is exasperated. And I should mention that I am sponsored by Inductive Automation. They've been a long-time sponsor. They don't tell me what to write, or some places I have been an influencer, and I specify that I've been paid money to write something about whoever, but they don't really tell me anything other than what's happening with Inductive Automation. But a long-time sponsor, which I appreciate, and I should tell you now they released Ignition 8.3. In my opinion, it should have been Ignition 9, but then who am I? I don't do that version numbering stuff anymore. But 8.3 is a significant upgrade, and you should go to www.inductiveautomation, just as it spelled just like it sounds, .com, and check out Ignition 8.3. It's really good. I'll talk a little bit more of it later, but this has been, it's like a continuation fulfillment of the vision that they laid out a long time ago of using IT-friendly or IT technologies as a foundation for building an operations technology or OT software system. And therefore it connects very easily between the two domains, or the two realms, if you will, between OT and IT. So go to inductiveautomation.com, check out Ignition 8.3. It's really, really a significant upgrade over what they have done, which is already, users here tell me, good. So even better. Start out, I've got a lot of notes, and I've got my Remarkable tablet. And if you don't have a Remarkable, it's a really cool device for taking notes and writing out thoughts and so on. And so I'll have to scroll through a little bit, but skipping ahead a little bit to some of the new features, if you will, with Ignition. They are putting together, so back up a second. From the very beginning, they've always tried to be user-friendly as far as pricing, and making sense of pricing, and making it easier to buy, which sounds kind of funny, but actually with software sometimes it's so complex you wind up like spending like $100,000 when 10 would have done, or something like that. And so they've always tried to be very user-friendly in that sort of domain, and especially in pricing and being able to purchase what you need. So there are lots of modules now. Didn't start out with that many, now there are lots of modules, and you may wonder what to purchase. So one of toward the end of the opening keynote sections, they talked about a new thing called Solution Suites, and that would be SUITES, not SWEETS. Anyway, Solution Suites, and they're starting out with 5, and the pricing is like right there for you to see. Just go to the website and you can see everything is up front. If you buy the suite, you have upgrade protection, essentially for as long as the suite exists. So you're protected if you buy the suite, and their suites are an app building suite, an industrial historian suite, data ops suite, which is interesting. Data ops is another whole really cool area of getting into, an alarm management suite, and an enterprise integration suite. So these are available or with Ignition 8.3, and probably more to come. I should mention that this whole modular idea has been coming in the industry for quite a while as companies have struggled to put together systems and ways for you to be able to purchase what you need, or maybe bring it all together into one easy package, if you will. So we have 5 brand new suites to start with. They promise more to come, and they look really interesting. They always give, and you'll go to my website, and I wrote up a little bit and go to the Inductive Automation website. They always have awards for different things, a variety of things, and they have something called the Firebrand winners, and these are people who have submitted applications. Interestingly enough, last night at the dinner, I talked to a guy. He says, I'm the only Firebrand winner that never got announced from stage. They put together an application package for it with a project they had done. Usually it's a systems integrator, and they worked with an end user customer and put together a package. And they put it all together, and then at the last minute, their customer said, oh no, we can't publicize this, and so they had to pull it. So in my previous life, a long time ago, I am familiar with how end users, I sold something to GM one time, and they said, I can't publicize it at all because they don't want it to look like they're endorsing our company, which I understand, but when you're the integrator or machine builder, you sort of like to publicize that. Anyway, the Firebrand winners, some really cool applications, and what's really cool about their applications are they're not exactly necessarily hardcore manufacturing. One was a mining application. There was another one at the Sydney, Australia airport, things like that. So think out of the box. If you're listening to this, no matter what you're doing, a year or two ago, somebody did a community project, as I recall, with a food bank, but using Ignition, and got an award for that. It's amazing what you can do with this software. They have a Community Impact Award, and there's a man who works at an integrator and works all day, and then he devotes several hours a week, many hours a week evidently, on the forums that Inductive Automation has, and he answers questions that just to help people out who are trying to solve their own problems. And he just devotes his time and gives his time to help other people solve some of these software problems. His name was Nick Minchin, and very interesting, well-worthy award. And then they gave an Educational Engagement Award, and this was the Hebron IT Academy in the Ukraine. And these are students. They have no background in developing prosthetic devices or whatever, but they used Ignition and other things to do 3D printing of prosthetic, like hands, and like the lower part of the arm and the hand. Ukraine, as you know, is at war, and soldiers sometimes lose limbs. And so they developed this project to help soldiers that had lost a hand. And very cool. Go once again to the Inductive Automation website and check that out. It was really cool. It's amazing what people do with Ignition. Once again, it's a software platform that is more than just HMI SCADA for typical SCADA, oil field or whatever pipeline applications. The Kat Jeski talked. She is the Chief Operating Officer, and although from a previous life I never really was thrilled with ISO 9000, they were really promoting how they have gotten ISO 9000, which is a quality standard. They made use of it better than some of my old customers back in the 90s by ISO 9000 upgrades systems, and so it helped her as COO and her team develop better systems for quality, and that has paid off in a number of issues. amongst other things, on the other side of the coin, they have as many QA people as developers now, and they can work more one-to-one and enhance the quality and also the speed to delivery of their own products. And they also achieved ISA 62443, which is a standard for industrial control systems. And they're working on a couple of other ones coming up. So on the operations side, they are still moving right along. Let me check. One of my old friends was supposed to show up to make a presentation, and he didn't come. So I'll be sending him a nasty gram. Like, where were you? I was here to see you. Anyway, keynote number 2, the second day they do a technical keynote, and that's Colby Clegg, who is CEO, and Carl Gould, who is the CTO. And they were the original developers of the precursor to Ignition and of Ignition. I met them when they were fairly recent graduates, I think, college graduates with CS degrees. And they talked about the technical side of Ignition 8.3. And it's really, what's really interesting, and I made a lot of notes, and I don't know if I can figure it all out, but it's like a total revamp. It's like going back to the foundations and redoing a bunch of the underlying foundations that are all IT technology friendly stuff that enables them to build up and then come up the stack and makes it more adaptable to the future, because these are all technologies that are proven in use in IT and will be around for a while. So I was really impressed with that, because that's a fulfillment of the vision, or an extension of the vision of this idea of using proven IT technologies, and also some cutting edge ones that are coming out. More use of Snowflake, of Kubernetes, different things like that. What are my notes? Human readable configuration files. 100% API configurable is another note. They have a new historian using QuestDB. They have expanded and improved on data ops and event streaming. Perspective is their visualization module, and they've upgraded Perspective to vector development tools, which will enable people to use vector tools offline and then import them into Ignition for their visualization. And then they talked about the organization themselves. They have grown the engineering department from 30 to 90 in 5 years. They now are remote first, so they can get a diverse development source worldwide. And the QA is one-to-one with developers to get them through. So scale, they're talking about to be able to for their software to scale, but the company also scaled at the same time. So that's really useful. And as I'm scanning my notes here, a lot of use of containerization, still more decoupling. That's always been a factor here of trying to decouple devices from the software application, from other things. It's an important IT technology and system as in addition to this. Looking at scaling, so they know that people buy Ignition and maybe they're doing a project at a plant, then they need to scale it out across dozens of plants, maybe with hundreds and hundreds of nodes and PLCs and other things that they need to do. So, and complexity does not scale one-to-one. It scales great, and the complexity just grows exponentially pretty much. And so all the things that they're doing are designed to be able to help people to scale from the single project to an enterprise-wide project. Their web API is RESTful, and they have a lot of talk of JSON, which is good. In other pieces I've done over the last few years with companies and talking with them, it's like can't you just get RESTful APIs? Can't you do, that sort of stuff? Let's go JSON instead of SOAP and other stuff like that. And talking about JSON then, they're adding more support for Python. If you want to do scripting in Python, it's now much more readily available and usable. They use Git. And then I'll just kind of skip ahead a little bit. They went through so many things, and you just need to read all about 8.3. Shoot, my thing is locked up here. So then they got into some things like for the future, and they talked about infrastructure as code, and AI should be helpful. In fact, fed into they've already done some work on AI as a tool, as a helpful tool, and not like my usual press release that comes in. Hey, we got AI in it. I used to joke if I got a proximity sensor press release, it probably would have AI in the headline. So anyway, they're working on that. Infrastructure as code is an IT kind of idea that they've been bringing in. Legacy system migration, they're working on that, and it's another use of AI tools specifically done for this. They looked at just the sheer human hours required when you're bringing legacy systems into the new system, and AI tools that for programming and so on should be a help in helping people do that. And then the third thing they're doing, and they talked about it coming early next year, which people immediately started saying January, but early doesn't necessarily mean January. Anyway, we'll see. It's enabling agentic integration. I have talked in the past about agent or agentic AI. I had a conversation with John Harrington from HighByte and his take on that. I've written some other things. So there's a thing called Model Context Protocol, MCP, and that's a standard way to add real-world data to an LLM, a large language model. In other words, this is so they're building an MCP module to help you do some of the specific AI kinds of things. I met a guy, I've read about him a little bit on LinkedIn. I don't really follow that much, but he's evidently a major influencer in especially IT circles. He happened to be sitting beside me at this keynote, and we talked about similar experiences. I had done some influencer work with Dell years ago, and then a few years later they regrouped that area of IoT and Edge, and he did some influencer work, sounded like the same kind of stuff I was doing back when. But anyway, he's beating on my knee. Look at that, how great it was, where I'm more laid back and thoughtful. He's like Mr. Influencer, enthusiastic guy. His name's Walker Percy, I think, something like that. But anyway, nice guy. I mean, good guy, but like 100% different from me. But he just said MCP. He says, he looks at me and says, if this would have been an IT audience, they would have been standing and applauding at this. He said the OT people don't necessarily realize the power of MCP. Anyway, it is coming early 2026, and this is another example of how inductive automation is able to make these investments and continue growing. I don't really know anybody else, any kind of competitor that's really, they just seem to be, a friend I was talking with in the hallway said, hey, they seem to be milking like a cash cow more than developing, but inductive automation continues to push the envelope for what they can do to make the product better. And I'll make one last mention before I wrap this up, because I'm already at almost my usual time, and I didn't think I'd go that long. I said the last session I just sat in on the last day of the conference on the 18th September was Arlen Nipper and Nathan Davenport talking about MQTT. Arlen talked about making the first presentation 10 years ago in 2015, and I went up to him and I said, good presentation. By the way, I remember 10 years ago and talking about MQTT, and then a couple of years later, sometime later, talking about Sparkplug, which is you use with MQTT, and I'm not going to try to explain it here. But anyway, MQTT and Sparkplug. I remember writing to my friends at the OPC Foundation who were like thumbing their noses like, well, if that's all people want, rather than OPC, which was an information model, but the problem with it is it got complex, and I am told, I'm kind of away from it now, but I'm told it's even getting more complex. Meanwhile, MQTT is not, and Cirrus Link and so on, they're not adding complexity, but they are adding tools to make it easier. MQTT is a messaging protocol, and it just messages, and it doesn't do poll response. It's it's like send a message on exception, that sort of thing. Reduces bandwidth. Sparkplug helps you visualize, and so they do visualization tools and some other things for transferring data and so on. MQTT is powerful, and the company is Cirrus Link, CIRRUS Link. And you can go there and see more about MQTT and how cool MQTT with Sparkplug really is. So, that was a lot more than I meant to say, but there was a lot going on at this conference, an awful lot more. They have a partner ecosystem, and it's all about data, and maybe it's on the hardware side, maybe it's on some sort of messaging side, maybe it's a database, containers, that sort of thing. And the cool thing about the partner ecosystem, I have seen companies that cannot manage a partner network. It just changes all the time. Partners are always suspicious of the main company. And here it truly is like an ecosystem where they all feed in, they all can build on Ignition. They can all do other stuff too, of course. But it all fits together, and because of the foundation of Ignition and inductive automation, it's helped all of their businesses grow, which is a true test of an ecosystem. So, ICC 2025 is wrapped up. Ignition Community Conference, and as always, man, I'll tell you, they moved to this location, doubled the attendance from 800 to 1600, and the conversations in the hallways, it's just so much energy and so much excitement. It reminds me of some of the early days in automation when I used to go to these conferences. So it was a great time. Glad to be here. Great people. I love the industry. Everywhere I go, it's great people that just helpful and friendly and that sort of thing. So this is Gary Minchell, another series of thoughts on manufacturing and technology. And once again, I'll mention I am sponsored by Inductive Automation, who did not pay me specifically to say all these things about Ignition, but they've been a long-time sponsor for many years, and I appreciate their support. And the best thing I can tell you right now is go to inductiveautomation.com and check out Ignition 8.3. It's really powerful, really cool, and if you have any need for industrial software, even integration to MES, this is a good place to go and look and see what's new. So anyway, thank you for listening. If you like it, pass the word and add new people. And one last word, as you leave, try to practice kindness today. Just be kind to yourself and to other people. I think we need that in the world. So thank you.